it's a business at the end of the day. Everyone wants to try and make money and be profitable as a business, but also you don't want to kind of throw away your core values in pursuit of that. It doesn't really make any sense to do that. Although there'll be companies out there that will do that, so that we can spend more time helping as many people instead of spending a lot of time with individuals.
How do you see digital tools reshaping the mortgage broker industry? Because you have been in the industry for quite some time. Welcome to one of our next episodes of the Navvai Shift, powered by Navvai. Great to have Richard Branson on board, CEO and founder of Mortgage Pro Sussex. So Richard, how you doing?
I'm good, thanks. Thanks very much for having me. I appreciate you getting me on.
No, of course. So Richard, can you just give us a bit more insight into essentially what Mortgage Pro is?
So Mortgage Pro Sussex is a online sort of virtual mortgage brokerage. Essentially, our brokers are kind of based around the country, so they're not typically face to face. Mainly since COVID, it's more of how things are being done these days, and we have to make sure that we're servicing as many people as we can, and obviously doing that face to face, you've got a very small net to cast essentially. So we thought, well, we want to be a nationwide mortgage brokerage, and having that not face to face was going to be better for us.
So as you did highlight the not face to face, how do you see digital tools reshaping the mortgage broker industry? Because you have been in the industry for quite some time.
So I mean, you've got Teams, you've got Zoom, you've got all of those to be kind of virtually face to face with a client. And there are tools out there to make your life a little bit easier. We have like a system where it's a portal where people can upload their documents and things safely and things like that. So we're kind of taking away any kind of hurdles that are stopping clients from feeling it's not particularly safe just to constantly keep emailing stuff and things to us. So we're trying to make it super secure, but also making it kind of accessible to everyone.
Definitely. And I guess you've been seeing that client expectations are definitely shifting towards digital convenience as well. But then have you still implemented a lot of traditional methods into your strategy in terms of how you run your business, or in terms of how you keep your relationships?
So yeah, it's kind of a bit of a split, probably a 60-40 traditional, 40 with kind of more the digital aspect of things. We do like to call our clients and kind of give them an update on how things are going, but we've also got a CRM system where we're automating kind of touch points throughout the kind of the sales process. We find there is a bit of a fine line. At some point, things are probably going to go completely automated, with maybe a very small proportion, maybe 10% of human interface, or kind of someone just checking over. Hopefully that's not too soon, and hopefully we're jumping on that bandwagon kind of at the right time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, how we do it works. Will we kind of maybe do a 50-50 or a 60-40 in the other direction? It really depends. We're dealing with a lot more younger people, and the younger people are all kind of very much their phone orientated. And apps and things, so you can see the direction everything's going to be going, for sure.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, we've had conversations with mixed ages, I should say, and we feel people that are a little bit more senior are not too adverse with change, but we feel that younger people are, just because they are more familiar with, as you said, apps, tools, systems, and so forth. It's literally just at our disposal. But for the mortgage industry and platforms that you guys use, are you familiar with any sort of like automating processes? Are you seeing that within the industry at the moment?
Definitely automated. Yeah, like I said, with the touch points, I think that's huge at the moment. I wouldn't say like a massive amount of people that I know with the industry that are doing it, but it's just a case of there's a lot of older people in this arena where we are, but there's also a lot of younger people coming through, like we spoke about previously before we come on. About estate agents. There's a lot of the commercial estate agents where they're really, really hungry and they're wanting to set up their own business, so they're probably going to do really, really well short term, with everything that's there to their disposal. But I think there's a lot of older people that will really struggle with regards to the automation side of things and taking that jump, because it's new, old dogs, new tricks. I'm 42, so I found it quite different but necessary at the same time. And you kind of have to just jump into something new to make sure, is it going to work? And then if it does work, what does it look like, and how can you kind of tweak it? So that's what we've been doing certainly over the last 6 months.
Yeah, nice. Are you seeing it as your point of view, also the industry's point of view? Do you see it as a threat, or do you think it's more of a compliment for independent brokers?
What, with regards to the automation side of things?
Yeah.
I think it's only ever a good thing. I mean, they can't give your client too much contact. They're not going to be like, oh, you're giving me too many updates on how things are going. They're not going to be too annoyed about that. If you flip it around and they're not getting any updates, and you're super busy and you're concentrating on that next bit of money and that next client, and you're really kind of, the customer service and the touch points with the client is falling by the wayside, then client retention and client experience is going to be really different. So that's what I mean by like a fine line of making sure that it's we are looking at it from a client's perspective as well. Which I think is really important, because they're the ones that matter, right? So
nice. That's useful.
What would you say is any specific technologies that you're currently using to help streamline applications, if it's AI or not AI, but just in relation to the software that you use? That's helped.
Because we're part of a network, we're kind of given a system to use.
Okay.
The good thing with the system, like I was saying to you about the document upload and being kind of on a portal and encrypted and things, we find that sending the client the fact find to fill out works really well in two different areas, really. One is time for the client, because otherwise it's a 45-minute hour phone call for us to do it, because we'll 9 times out of 10 you're going to ask a question for some information. It's going to kind of take you down another avenue, and then you kind of digress and stuff. So we send it out to the client, like I say, for 2 reasons. One, time for them. It usually takes them sort of 5-10 minutes to fill out, and it also, from our perspective, it gets rid of the tire kickers, the people that aren't really that kind of motivated to proceed. So that just forms part of our sales process, really. And then we get notified when it comes back, when the documents come back and everything's all there and it's packaged, and then you're like, right, let's get in contact with that client to talk about rates, options, and how best to move forwards.
Lovely stuff. I've worked in the industry before in terms of like real estate, so I do know from the mortgage side of things, sometimes when it comes to like processing applications, I know there's sometimes been like hiccups and so forth. But I mean, what would you say are like the biggest roadblocks preventing mortgage firms from processing applications more efficiently?
Accuracy of information that's provided by the client, I would say, is definitely up there. Non-disclosure. You go and do a decision in principle, you find out they've got lots of other debts they've not declared. I think that's kind of brought around by maybe a bit of lack of education, or prior conversation to educate why it's important to have kind of accurate information provided and stuff. That typically slows things down, or clients that aren't fully aware. So we try and get the client to fill out a credit file, do a credit file, so we can have a look at that and make sure there's not going to be any hurdles or kind of surprises along the way.
Of course. But then in relation to hurdles, or what's one part of the mortgage process that you say has to be specifically focused to be changed in terms of that improved industry wide, in terms of one part of the mortgage process?
The underwriting SLAs would be good. I mean, some lenders are good. So their timescales on which an application is submitted to when they actually offer. Sometimes they'll ask for additional information, and then it's another 5 working days for them to review. If they're doing that back and forth, it's 2 weeks gone straight off the bat. I think that needs to be looked at. I think there needs to be a little bit more of a kind of a pragmatic approach to the underwriting side of things. Their focus is give us we're looking for reasons not to lend as opposed to reasons to lend. It's a very negative approach to having a new client and an experience, but they don't really care about the experience side of things unless they go direct. And then that's almost like branch-based kind of customer service. But to come back, it's more. I think lenders aren't really that bothered about the experience that the clients get from an intermediary like us.
Yeah.
And obviously the fact that we're bringing so much business to their door, much more business than they are getting through their own channels. It's frustrating.
Yeah. No, definitely understood. But would you also, are partnerships with lenders changing due to digital advancements as of recent years, would you say?
I wouldn't say it's what as far as lenders, lender systems and processes. It's some and some. Some lenders are still kind of very traditional with their underwriting and their process. Some are a lot slicker, where they'll communicate with the client directly via email and their app, similar to like digital mortgages, for instance, which are part of Atom. You've got to put in the client's email address and telephone number so that they can kind of go on an app and finish off the process and stuff, or accept the offer and things. That moving forwards is really good. It's a really slick process for the clients, and I think, as I say, for younger clients that are looking to buy their first home, we're looking at a kind of an area of people, of youngsters that they're all kind of born with an iPad in their hands, weren't they? Right. So,
I'm just happy that I just missed that little mark. I was born in 1998, so I had to think I got best of both worlds.
All of my kids have had iPads and stuff, and they range from 15 to 2. So, they're all really interested in kind of technology, or just kind of like wasting their time looking at a screen, But yeah, I think that moving that in that direction is going to provide for the niche that are coming through.
Nice. Yeah, nice. And we know that Mortgage Pro offers a very personalized service. How do you maintain that personal touch?
Well, like I said, with regards to the automation split and the personalized split, we find it works really well. We're constantly trying to get better at communication with clients and how best to meet that particular client's needs. So we feel that we're at that point where we're quite good at kind of communicating with the clients. We want to jump on the call with them as often as we can, just to kind of touch base. We also set up WhatsApp groups, with like him and her, him and him, whoever. So the buyers together with the title of it as the property they're buying or remortgaging, so that they can ask questions, we can respond quicker. It's a little bit more forward thinking, I guess, in that respect. A lot of people prefer that.
Yeah.
The other half sends us a question, then the other half is going to know the answer. It's all transcripted, it's all there, it's quite a nice way. Voice notes, some people want voice notes, some people don't. I'm not really too bothered whether I'm doing a voice note or not. Sometimes the client's in the car and they want to leave you a voice note or whatever. Yeah, but, yeah.
Personality types, right?
Yeah, exactly. You just have to. You've been an estate agent. It's selling 101. It's mirroring the other. It's mirroring the client, right? It's about trying to understanding how they're speaking, and how they want to be spoken to, and how how you deal with them. It's the same as that, but it's a little bit more. You have to kind of develop the skills a little bit more online and over the phone and stuff. You have to really gauge that sort of very quickly. Otherwise, if you want to be too jokey and too kind of chill, they might not see that as professional. They might see that as kind of like really unprofessional.
Yeah.
So yeah, trying to understand that is difficult at times sometimes, because they don't really let on too much. It's like poker. Yeah, we seem to be doing all right in that aspect.
Amazing stuff. You mentioned the 50-50 split. So we know that your firm has not fully adopted AI, but do you see it as something that could enhance Mortgage Pro in the future?
I definitely think there's aspects of our business that could certainly do with it now. Maybe like a an AI chatbot on the website, maybe some tools to make us get maybe larger quantities of marketing out in front of people. And obviously you've got Canva and you've got AI within Canva and stuff like that you can use, and there's lots of videos that you can, and apps that you can do for videos and stuff. So I think as far as the process, I was thinking about this, I've been thinking about it a lot. I think having some kind of an app as a mortgage broker would be great, where they're not just leaving their information, but they're kind of having a little bit of an idea of what products based on some questions. 6 months to a year ago, we were looking at doing an app where we were trying to automate kind of the beginning part of the process, not quite getting to where they're sourcing a product and almost like a compare the market kind of thing. Is that kind of aspect that we were looking at, but I think that would probably ruin the intermediary market, if I'm honest. And it would be very much a very unpersonable way to do the mortgage side of things. We just want to bring in things that are going to enhance the client's experience and also make the process slicker. I think other than that, unless the market dictates, there's not really any reason to kind of like overkill it.
I agree. And I think we're at a point where when a lot of people think about AI and adopting it, they think it's going to take over their jobs and replace them. But I think we're at a stage where it's more about complementing the human and using the AI tools and also yourself to get yourself into a place where everything's streamlined and everything's automated. And I believe AI is definitely a way to complement that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, anything that's going to make the journey easier for the client and ideally for the broker as well, so that we can spend more time helping as many people instead of spending a lot of time with individual clients. It's a business at the end of the day. Everyone wants to try and make money and be profitable as a business, but also you don't want to kind of throw away your core values in pursuit of that. It doesn't really make any sense to do that. Although there'll be companies out there that will do that. Stack them high and see how many kind of fall in the net.
We feel that you're integral, Richard. Is that fair to say?
Integrity or integral?
You have integrity.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, doing the job, you've got to be honest. You've got to be transparent. There's a lot of people in the industry that aren't, or that have a different kind of agenda to what the client's setting out. But I've spoken to the client, I know where that's going, and they've not asked enough questions. They're very kind of focused on an avenue they want to take the client. I always let the client lead the kind of, not the advice, but lead the conversation, get as much information, and then kind of move forward from there. But yeah, 100%. Integrity is huge.
Amazing. Yeah. In terms of we know how great AI can be, right? Do you have what are your concerns about it related to the financial service industry? Do you have any concerns about that, I should say?
It depends to what level AI would be utilized within our industry. Certainly, I would have concerns if the kind of the intermediary market was kind of dwindling human wise and being replaced by AI. I think that would be a shame, just because you're taking a really personable kind of experience for clients, certainly the ones that are buying their first property, and even the ones after that that have bought their first property but they've never remortgaged before, and they've never kind of moved house after having buying a second home, for instance, and stuff. There's definitely still a lot of nurturing that needs to be done, certainly in the early days of a client having their mortgage. And then not to mention that it's the insurance aspect of it and understanding and educating. I can't see that AI would educate in an empathetic way like a human can in that respect. So I think it will come in. I think it will take over certainly much more than it has, but hopefully it doesn't kind of detract away from those really good brokers out there that are doing such an amazing job.
Yeah. taking the conversation away just from AI, just for 1 second. We've seen, I think there was news last week in relation to the interest rates, they've come down. So how's that been for the business?
I mean, with regards to the interest rates and the base rate coming down, I mean, the banks aren't beholden to reduce rates, right? You know, the base rate is typically what banks would borrow from the Bank of England at, because rates are below that. You know, they're throwing out some lower rates than the base rate. So I think the biggest thing is once one lender, like for instance, at the minute Santander have kind of put out, they're going to put a sub 4% out. Once someone does that, it kind of has a domino effect with other lenders that want to be super competitive within a certain loan to value or in a certain area of the business. But yeah, having the base rate come down, many a conversation with clients since then that are like, well, base rates come down by 0.25, so you know rates are going to come down by 0.25, and that's well, it doesn't work like that. You know, lenders are lending out savings; they're not lending out money they borrowed from the Bank of England, right? Otherwise, rates would be 6% with their markup on it. So it's down to lenders being competitive, and that's what's kind of driving a little bit more movement, certainly in the purchase side of things. When people wanting to move, rates are coming down a little bit more, and they're thinking, oh, actually, it's a little bit more affordable to move and stuff. That's a really good direction to be in, certainly at the moment.
I think one other question I wanted to ask as well was just in relation to self-employed individuals, and sometimes they have like complex cases, and they face a lot of challenges.
Yeah.
How do you think AI could help streamline that to make sure that their processes are a lot more simpler compared to like a first-time buyer?
I think having the transparency of policy and criteria of lenders would be good. AI would probably be quicker than us searching on like a criteria brain or another criteria kind of search engine. If you could put in a more detailed description of what you're looking for and it comes back with something super accurate, that would be brilliant. It would save so much time, certainly on the complex cases. The industry is geared more around self-employed people now than certainly sort of 5-10 years ago. There's more criteria. There's a lot more kind of relaxed kind of lending towards self-employed people. Certain, not with everyone, but with certain lenders. So it's not as bad as it was.
Nice. And from the client aspect, do you think clients trust, AI-driven mortgage advice, or do you think they would prefer the human element?
I think certainly at the moment people would probably prefer the human element. I know Habito, another mortgage company, is kind of trying the automated kind of AI kind of experience. As a buyer myself, I wouldn't like it. Having someone just to pick up the phone to and having that kind of individual to speak to, I think is still really, really important. You're not going to go to AI and buy a car just from AI because it's giving you this like a vocal description of it.
Yeah.
You're going to want to go see it. You're going to want to kind of feel it. You want to kind of talk to someone and just try and look in their eyes and understand, or negotiate or whatever.
Yeah.
There's certain places for it, and there's certain places that I think it would hinder. But it depends what comes out.
I'm with you. It just links back to that personal touch, doesn't it?
Yeah, for sure, 100%.
I would say, looking ahead as well, what would you say is the biggest focus for Mortgage Pro Sussex over the next, let's say, 12 to 24 months?
The biggest focus for us is to grow.
Yeah.
Is to take as many brokers on as we can to service the clients that are coming in. We do a lot of social media marketing, and we've kind of hit a niche where we're kind of flooded with leads at the moment. But they're not really going anywhere because we don't have the brokers to really kind of deal with the volume.
Got you.
So for us, definitely we're in a growth period where we want to grow the business, take on as many decent brokers as we can, and look after the clients that we've got coming in.
How many brokers have you currently got in your firm now?
So currently we did have 2 brokers and an admin. We're now, because we don't really need an admin because of our sales process is quite slick, we find that it's not really needed until we're at a certain level. So we have Mary and David. We've got David. Mary sadly left at the beginning of January due to her circumstances. But we've got our eye on sort of 4 or 5 different brokers that we want to bring on board. Our network is kind of pulling back the reins, saying, look, you need to just kind of like just maybe get a couple on once they've got their cash status, and then start bringing more on, and then more, and then it will kind of snowball from there. But it's difficult when someone else is pulling back the reins. When all I want to do is just kind of get out of the traps and start getting as many people on board as we can.
Yeah.
Of course. Other than that, we say any other major challenges that's essentially preventing the scaling faster, I would say, at a better rate.
What, as in taking on more brokers?
Yeah. So other than just taking on more brokers as well, any other major challenges that are preventing you from scaling or growing at the speed that you'd want to?
The purchase market kind of getting better and people more moving house, that would be good. Most of our social media stuff is remortgage, because it's a remortgage market massively at the moment. A little bit home mover and porting and stuff. So I'd say the market kind of recovering and people kind of started moving and stuff. But as far as a business for us, I think it's just a case of the recruitment. We have the leads, if we can get the recruitment along with the leads, and then everything else will just kind of fall into place. We've got the structure, we've got everything we need in that aspect. Obviously certain areas can be better, but it's just a case of kind of tweaking and changing that as we kind of evolve and get bigger as a business.
Yeah.
Lovely stuff. You mentioned about social media. You said that you found a niche.
Yeah.
What sort of content you guys creating? Is it like, reels? Are you posting like carousels? What's that?
Well, look, to be fair, we don't do it. We've got a marketing company that do it for us.
Right, yeah.
So we use a company called First Digital Media, based up in the north. I'm down near Brighton,
Okay,
on the south coast. So, because I don't know, like when I was talking about old dogs, new tricks, AI is one thing, social media, I'm not one that kind of picks up my phone that's on it all the time and scrolling and stuff like that. And I'm probably not the most adventurous with regards to content. I know what I want to talk to the clients about, but then just kind of putting that together as a kind of a finished product is difficult for me. If it's an age thing, I have no idea. Maybe I'm just not creative. But yeah, we get a company that do our marketing for us, and they kind of optimize it and they do what they need to do. But we focus, our biggest marketing campaign is on NHS at the moment.
Oh, okay, nice.
So we seem to be getting kind of like 100 to 150 leads a month coming in, and between 2 people, it's mental. And I've got like 12 years worth of client bank that I need to service as well. So bless me and David having to kind of work crazy hours, trying to get all the clients in and booked in and stuff. So yeah, it's busy.
We like busy, don't we? Busy is always good.
Yeah, productive busy is good.
Productive busy. Yeah.
Reactive busy, not so much. It's setting up a business is one of the ideas of setting up a business is to have better kind of work-life balance. And when you're working like 8 till 8, dealing with all these leads coming in, yeah, it's short-term issue, but still it's frustrating.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's frustrating.
Now, Richard, we know you don't have a crystal ball, right? But
how'd you know that?
Because I don't have one. If you had one, I would have one. But how do you see the mortgage brokering, evolving in the next 5 years, in your opinion?
I think processes will get slicker, and the client journey will be much better than it currently is. Because I think we're certainly in certain areas with I can only really talk about brokers that I've spoken to and obviously our process, and we feel our process is where it needs to be currently. But we all know that it's an all evolving market and it's an all evolving industry. So in 5 years, I don't know whether I'm going to be saying the same thing. I could be chasing my tail, thinking I'm right behind, or I'm not where I need to be. But I think definitely the automation and having some kind of AI within the industry, not so much at a forefront level, but as more of an aid for like a customer experience area, would be really good. Because I think contact with clients when you're super busy is really, really difficult to kind of take yourself away from that. I've done that one over there. That's banked essentially. And my focus is on over here, and going back to that when it's already banked essentially is a difficult skill to have, especially if something does go awry and it doesn't go particularly to plan, or the sale falls through, or whatever the situation. I think having something like that within the next sort of 5 years would be amazing.
Perfect, brother. Richard, this has been an amazing conversation. We really appreciate your time today. Thank you for sharing your insight and how mortgage firms can compete in the first digital world. Much appreciated for your time.